First of all, I would like to welcome everybody to this webinar, and I want to thank the team for giving me an opportunity to talk to you on this subject. It's a fairly complex subject. Myself, my name is Fazal Imam Faruqi, and I passed out in 1994, the 8th batch of IIP. Uh, from that time onwards, I have been into different things. I have been working for some time. I have been in business for some time, my own business for a couple of years. I've worked in various countries. I've worked in abroad, mainly in Dubai, in China, and some of the other countries in the Far East region mainly. Uh, I have worked in various companies like Marico is where I started my career. Then I worked with Pidilite. In Dubai, I was working with Ajmal Perfumes. And for the last about 12 years, I've been with Kraft Heinz Company. And Kraft Heinz Company has now got taken over by Zydus Wellness. So I'm now in Zydus Wellness. So that is more or less my professional journey. Broadly, I have always been into packaging development and packaging innovation. And in between, for a couple of years, I also handled purchase for some time with Ajmal Perfume. And I would consider my journey to be a glorious journey because when I got into this packaging profession, I think this is the best profession that I could have done for myself. And if I get another chance in life to relive myself, I will again be in the same profession. So I am very grateful and thankful to the Indian Institute of Packaging for having made my career. And whatever daily bread I earn because of the Indian Institute of Packaging. So I've been taught by some very great teachers in IIP, namely Patwardhan sir, Deshmukh sir, Adak sir, Mokashi sir, um, E. Narayanan on plastics, and so many others. So in those days, we didn't have too much of distraction in mobiles or TVs and all that. So we used to spend a lot of time on learning, and even after the class, we used to spend a lot of time interacting with each other, with our seniors on different packaging subjects or some packaging questions. So there was a lot of learning in the campus. I spent some time in the campus, though I was a Bombay student, but I stayed for a couple of months in the hostel. So I know the hostel life also. I've eaten in the same canteen that people in the hostel eat for some time at least, not the whole term. So that is what it is. Today I am heading the packaging development function of Zydus Wellness and heading a team of about uh, or five people rather. Five people are reporting to me, and that is where it is as far as career goes. And so that's what it is. So then I'm ready to start the presentation whenever I get a green signal.
Yeah, further, sir, it's like a very stellar journey of yours in corporate so far. So, can you please comment on how you really shaped the present format of alumni association? So, you have been ex general secretary, ex acting president, and for past 3 decades, you have been in the service of the IIP alumni and association. So, can you just elaborate on that so that students know how what is the importance of working for the alumni fraternity and that too packaging in India?
Right. Somewhere I think in the year 1998, the first association was formed by a group of students. There were efforts being made even before that, but then the IIP was not very willing to allow us permission to form an association of this type. They was always afraid that this association will overpower the institute. So at the time of PV Narayanan as a director, there was a big resistance from the institute. But then came the time of then Mr. Narayanan retired and Mr. Dhar came in, and Mr. Dhar was very supportive of the alumni association. And in fact, he used to call members of the alumni association to various international meetings. In fact, I was in Dubai and they were having an Asia Packaging Federation meeting, and some of us who were living in Dubai in those times were invited to attend the meeting as formal members of the group. So that was the support that we got, and that was the time when this alumni association started getting some shape, and it continued to do well in the first couple of years. Then we lost way in between. I came back from Dubai by the time I think it was 2005 5 or 6. Even in Dubai, we had our own chapter of alumni association with at least I think about 14, 15 members in the team, and there were regular monthly meetings and things that we were doing, helping and supporting the association from wherever we were. Then formally, when I came back to India, I joined the association as a treasurer. I was appointed treasurer for some time. Then I became the general secretary. People appointed me as general secretary. Then, then after that, that was the peak. And then we decided that people who hold the post of president and general secretary cannot recontest. So therefore, I did not contest after that. But I have always been associated with the association. It is very close to my heart. And in whatever way we could have helped, we have tried to help the association. We have, in our time, we have run the biggest, fund collection for one of our students who had a brain hemorrhage or some big operation because of head injury. So we collected a lot of money. Even before that, one of our alumni passed away, and we had a big fund collection drive, and we raised a lot of money for the person, for his family. I think we have helped place a number of people into various jobs. We have helped people move their jobs from one to another. We have mentored a lot of young students like you who are coming out of the institute. We have, thanks to Amit Savarkar, we started this training sessions in the college where we, on the non-packaging subjects, which
Yeah. So Fazal sir, kindly unmute yourself. Someone has muted you. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So we have been trying to help people in various ways. The IIP, we have tried to give the IIP Alumni Association brand name a higher visibility in our last 10 or 15 years. Now it is a very strong alumni association with about 3,000 members, closely connected. Almost everybody knows, more or less 50% of the people are aware to the other 50% of the people in some way or the other. We are all connected in that way. We need to strengthen this a little bit more. I think we need to have some regular interactions. And this is one forum where it's a very nice way to interact with you all. Though face-to-face lectures are much better, but now these are the times we are getting used to working uh, through the computer and through our internet. So that is what it is. So we normally try to educate the students on non-packaging subjects like how to face an interview, what to expect when you join a company, how will you conduct yourself in the first year of your service, what are the considerations you will have while changing the job, how salaries are worked out, uh, on making project reports, on making PPTs. These are some of the training programs we used to have. We used to also have industry experts come and talk to people. Ayush, you may remember some of those meetings that we used to have. So,
So some it was like a wholesome of a structured approach. Like that's what I used to, and I and my batchmates and even my immediate seniors used to see you, Amit Saurkar sir, Rajaji sir, Prabhas sir, Levis sir, like coming every week, sitting in the canteen on Saturdays and Sundays, like eating samosas and tea with us. So this is how where it started.
yeah, I think we have a long way to go. It's a strong association. It can do much better than we are doing right now. And I'm sure that you guys in the new committee, new team are working very hard to do that. So all my best wishes with you. And whenever the association will need me, I will always be there.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I think like the students have got a good glimpse of what the corporate structure and also the association with the institute and alumni matters. So we are good to start the webinar. Over to you. Yeah.
Okay. So the presentation is about simplification, standardization, optimization, and innovations in packaging. The first three words, simplification, standardization, optimization, more or less mean the same. In a professional world, they all mean the same, and the approach to these three terms will be the same. Innovation by itself is a very large subject and altogether in a big field. But however, innovation is present everywhere. In everything that you do, you can innovate and do better. You can smoothen the process, simplify the process. All that is part of innovation. So innovation is nothing like not a rocket science. It's a different way of thinking out of the box is what is innovation. Now coming back to the core subject of simplification, standardization, and optimization. Whenever you guys will enter the professional field and go into your workplaces, you will be expected to do two main things. One is contribute to the top line, which is the profitability of the company, and also to contribute to the bottom line, which is savings that you can create through your work. How much of, and these two areas, which if you can impact properly, you will grow better in the organization and faster in the organization. In the beginning, you will be actually assisting somebody who will be playing the role of contributing to the bottom line and top line, and you will be helping the person. But as soon as you can get started on your own and deliver the top line and bottom line on your own, your visibility in the organization will start going up and you will start growing in the organization. Now, how do you contribute to the top line? Is typically through new products, the new NPDs, that is called new product development, the new packaging that you will create, the changes that you will bring into packaging. All these will help the product sell better in the market, and the higher sales will result in contribution to the top line. You will also, a significant part of your job will also be to drive reduction in cost, packing material cost, process cost, handling cost, labor cost, machine cost. So all those cost reductions put together will contribute to the bottom line. And that is where simplification, standardization, and optimization plays the biggest role. It is normally ignored, but it is, I would say, a parallel to cost reduction. You can't do a lot of cost reduction unless you follow these principles of simplification, standardization, and optimization. So the next question is, why do you have to do all this? Why should we do standardization and optimization and simplification? What it does is it simplifies warehousing. So you can maximize the use of warehouse. You can reduce the kind of inventory that you will create. And inventory by itself is money block. So you buy something and keep it in a warehouse. हम अपने घर पे भी देखते हैं कि बहुत सारा सामान घर पे ऐसा पड़ा होता है जो हार्डली यूज होता है. कभी हम सालों यूज नहीं करते हैं, कभी हम रेयरली यूज करते हैं. तो वो सामान, लेकिन you have paid money and bought those material and they're lying somewhere. So that is money block. तो घर पे तो ये चल जाता है, but in a business that is money block. So that money can be utilized to make a new product, sell a new product, create more money. So that money is getting blocked in your assets. So therefore, the optimum utilization of these resources will give you more profitably. You have more free money to invest somewhere else and make it more productive. So maybe you will need money to start a new factory. So where will the money to start a new factory come? It will come through measures of these kind of measures where you save on your storage space, on how you handle your inventory, so you don't have too much of stock lying in your warehouse. So those kind of things. It also, now if you have too much of stock lying in your inventory, then while at the time of production, you might also make an error of using the wrong material where it is not required. So you may use a different kind of a box, which is nearly the same size, but you use it. And जब उसका actual box का use करने का time आएगा, तो that may come out to be slightly loose or tight, and then there is a wastage. So having too much of material is also going to be a wastage for you. And then when you do too much of changes on your factory line, then your machine needs setting every time you put the new packaging material into production. So if you're changing over from, say, 200 gram size to a 500 gram size, you have to change the entire machinery setup, the conveyor system, the capping system. Everything has to change to suit to the new size. And that setup also takes a lot of time, anywhere from 2 hours to 6 hours, and sometimes on some machines it might take a full day. So that day's production is lost for you. So if you optimize your packing material in such a way that your changeover time comes down, so maybe a 200 gram and a 500 gram cap is the same size of the cap, which you will normally see on mineral bottles. The 500 gram Pepsi bottle and a 1 liter Pepsi bottle typically has the same cap. So if it is the same cap, then the capper need not have any change over time. So you save time on that. So that is where these are the vital reasons why you will go into this process of standardization and optimization. The biggest example of standardization you can see is your SIM card. So whichever brand or whichever service provider SIM card you buy, whether it is a Tata Docomo or a Reliance Jio or Vodafone or Airtel, the SIM card size is standardized. So you can just take the SIM card and put into any of the phones that are available in the market. In the same way, the Android system that we use on our Android mobiles is standardized. So any software we download from the Play Store, which is for Android, it will work on almost all the mobiles in the same way. Same goes for iOS as another operating system. So that is a way of standardization. Microsoft Office with Excel, Word, PPT. So I can make an Excel on my computer and send it to all of you, and it will open in the same way in your computer. So because the system is standardized. So this is what you can easily recollect when you think of a standardization. To make it easy to run on multiple systems without any additional software requirement or additional uh, hardware requirement. So this is what is standardization or optimization in the shortest form. Now, if you see some of the examples that you see in the market, because one of the mandate for this presentation is that to share this with examples. So these are some of the examples that you can see. Toothpaste, almost any brand of toothpaste you buy will have a same diameter tube. Print matter will be different, but the base material of the tube, the diameter of the tube, the length of the tube will almost be same. And in the same way, the box containing the tube will also be same if there is a box. We see that in beverage cans, whether you buy a Pepsi can or a Coke can or a Mountain Dew can, more or less there are one or two sizes which are there and they are standardized across the chain. Uh, the pumps that are used on hand washes and lotions and tubes, they are more or less standardized. The sprays on perfume bottle, they are standardized. So there are a lot of products and components that are standardized for the same purpose, the ease of usage. And nowhere this is the impact is felt nowhere. Most it is felt is in the pharmaceutical industry. Because pharmaceutical industry, the scope for innovation is fairly limited in the sense that everything is controlled by regulations and legislations of what will be the structure, what will be the format, what will be the dosage size. All these are standardized by various regulations of the government and internal company regulations also. So over there, standardization is the only way you can bring in big savings or big advantages to the company. What I say is the contribution to your bottom line. So even in the case of shippers in a pharmaceutical industry, a big company like Cipla will have a total of 35 or 40 sizes of shippers, and every product, maybe thousands of products that they make, has to in the end fit into those 30 or 40 sizes of shippers. So if it is slightly short, you may add a partition inside to cover up for the gap, and you will still so that will reduce the inventory because typically in a pharmaceutical industry you don't have 1 lakh boxes or 2 lakh boxes ordered. There's an export order which needs only 20 boxes. There is a local requirement which requires only 40 boxes. So every time you have to order and control this 20 boxes, 40 boxes, it's a lot of cost and effort. So there's a lot of scope for standardization. So even the cough syrup bottles more or less look the same. Earlier they used to be glass, now they are PET, but more or less the sizes are similar. But in pharmaceutical industry, it is far more important because over there differentiation in the packaging is not the key to selling the product. It is delivering the product at the least possible cost to the consumer that is most critical. In a FMCG industry, you have some flexibility. So a, a, typically a toothpaste type person the company may have go for a different size, a different opening, a flip top cap or a big cap, a small cap, and they may differentiate their product so that it doesn't look on the shelf similar to a competitor product. So they have some scope, but yet most of them try to standardize because it has many advantages, and you can definitely still differentiate with the color and pack and design of your packaging. Now, what are the types of standardizations you can do? The standardization is a very big subject, and some of the things that you can do. Now, if you are a supplier, as a supplier, you can standardize the kind of customers you will handle or customers you will service. So, if you are a mm, rigid bottle supplier, so you may standardize the fact that you will supply only to pharmaceutical industry. You will specialize in supplying to pharmaceutical industry, or you may specialize only in supplying to FMCG food industry, or you may specialize only in supplying to cosmetic industry. So that is the way you can standardize your customer. The customer can standardize by sourcing from people who are specialized in their area. So if I am a food a customer who is requiring packing material for food packaging, so I would go to these 5, 6 companies who are always, I know they are good in supplying and they have a good stock of supplying packing materials for my industry. So I can even in industrial, standardize my suppliers based on cost, based on their location, based on their service levels. So there are various factors that will come into play. But then I will have a pool of 4 or 5 suppliers to whom I will always go for my requirement. And very rarely, if these 4 are not able to supply to me, then I may go out of this pool. So that is one way of standardization in customer and supplier. Then you have material and services. So you can standardize the material. So you could be a company who majorly handles rigid packaging. And in rigid packaging, you may use various polymers. So you may decide that most of my products will be in polypropylene. So that my tonnage of polypropylene is very high, and I can have a better pricing or better bargaining advantage to buy it. So if I have maybe 200 tons requirement in a year, then I can negotiate with the polymer supplier in that way that my tonnage is very high and you give me a special price. So that is how you can standardize on material. Even on laminate, you can go with standardize your laminate. So you may have PET poly, PET poly, or some other higher barrier poly. But even if in some cases it is an over specification, the product doesn't need that kind of a specification. But just for the simple reason of standardization, I can use it there because going better has got no harm. Going lower on the specification may harm the product, but going to a better structure because all my other products are requiring a higher structure, that would be a standardization. So for that 5%, 10% requirement, I don't have a different structure and a different stock and a different vendor and different supplier. Then you have standardization of color and print. This is very important because every brand is noticed, recognized, and seen by a consumer on the shelf by its color, uh, by the quality of its print. So any Coca-Cola product will have the special red color, and every red color will be the same red color across the industry. Whether they use it in the advertisement or the TV ad, on their packaging, on their promotion, on their leaflets, everywhere the color is standardized. Same way it will go for Pepsi for the blue color and for so many colors. So, the red color of Colgate will be something we will all recognize very easily. So that is what is the standardization in color and print. And everybody will have a formal logo. Every brand owner will have a logo which identifies the product. And that logo is also standardized across all their communication types, all their advertisements. In the same way, you can also standardize machine. So, for example, you are making a lace type pouch and you have a choice of various machines that you can buy. So, there could be imported machines, there could be Indian machines, there could be even imported, there could be Italian, there could be American. But if you need some 7, 8 machines in your company, you have an option of having all 7 machines which are different. But you also have an option of buying all 7 machines which are same. So that if there is a requirement for a change part, then you can just remove from one machine and put it on the other and keep the machine running. So you don't have to wait for that machine to get repaired and till then your production comes to a halt or stop. So that way machine standardization is also what is practiced in the operations team. Then you have secondary packaging standardization, which is on the corrugated box. So you can have fewer type of GSMs that you use. In my company, we use only 3 types of GSM. We use 120 GSM, 150 GSM, and 180 GSM rarely used. And burst factors are also standardized. So we use 20 and 22 burst factors. And we all our suppliers now need to only stock these papers for us. Otherwise, there is a whole gamut of paper they will have to store. They will have to store from 16 BF right up to maybe 30, 32 BF. So much of paper stock is money blocked by them. And when they block their money, they will ultimately charge it back to us. So we want to avoid that. So we will have less. Then you will also see that paper also comes in decals. So decal of 20, 22, 24. That is the width of the reel. Now, if they have to keep different sizes of the reel, then again that lot of money will be blocked. So we standardize that also. So that I will have a 20 decal, then I will not keep 24, 22 decal, I will have 24 decal, and then maybe one more. So the whole storage comes down to 3 or 4 types of papers and reel sizes. That reduces the cost and inventory for my supplier, and in turn that gives me a price advantage to my company. So that is one. Then packaging format standardization. So Lay's, for example, is a great example. It is standardized. All its packs are in pouches. So that 15 gram or 10 gram pouch is a standardized pack for them. So in terms of storing material, ordering material, they will have a very fast supply chain. They will order the material and within 4, 5 days or 6 days, the printed material can land in their factory. But if you were to design an altogether new size and new specification, then they will take time to arrange the material, produce the material, cure the material, and send it to you. The whole cycle might take about, fastest it might take is 35 days or 45 days. So you can cut that time, and the faster you get to the market and start selling your product, you're going to make faster money and the money rotation will be high. So that will result in saving for your company. Then about after, and if we take again the chips, there is one kind of chips which I'm not remembering the name, which comes in paper tube. Uh, anybody remember? Ayush, you remember?
Chips in paper tubes, no, right?
Uh,
I
very
think,
famous.
yeah,
Pringles.
sir.
PNG ka brand
Uh,
hai.
yeah, sir. That we get in
Pringles
flights
type of
also, no?
chips,
When we
sir.
talk
That
about
Pringles,
Okay, got
Pringles.
it, got it. So Pringles,
right,
Pringles, yeah.
right, sir.
So,
Right.
so, so now if you see Pringles is standardized on that paper tube, and all the Pringles you available in the market is in paper tube. So they don't have any other format. They have only different
Oh.
height. They have the same diameter tube, same top and bottom. Only the height varies as per the fill volume, and that is they have standardized their packing across for that. So just an example on that. These are some of the examples that I could get from the internet. So we have talked about the Pepsi can. We have talked about the toothpaste tube. You have seen the mineral water bottles which have a common cap across sizes, different sizes. Then you will see there is a drink on the left hand side top, which is uh, which is all having the same white color cap. Now they could have chosen to go for different color of cap matching with the product color, but they have chosen to go all in white color because then they don't have to store separately the cap color for the different material or different drinks. So they are cutting on that. So supposing you have a 10,000 pieces cap you have to store in inventory. So if you have these 5 variants, so you will store 10 into 5, 50,000 caps in your inventory, different colors. And supposing you want to run that green product and the green color cap is not in stock, you cannot run. So that day's production is lost for you. You have to wait for the green color cap to arrive. But if you have a white cap, then you have to store at any time 50, 20,000 of the white color cap. And any product you want to make, you don't have to wait for the cap. The cap is always going to be there in your stock. So that is the advantage you get. And the same thing is in the frame below. The bottle and cap are standardized. So only the label keeps changing as per the product. And label is fine because label has a very low lead time in ordering and procuring. And it's also a lower cost of the material. So even in inventory, the cost of holding it is lower. Now there is one example on the right which is Nysil. So till a couple of years back, we had Nysil which had different colors of the cap. On the right hand side, the last image that you see, this is a purple, blue, and red color. So what we did over the period of time is we changed everything to a blue cap. So whatever now the flavor it is only identified in the label, the cap color becomes common. So that is how we have standardized and saved on the inventory carrying cost. So this is an example. Same way on laminate, you can do a lot of things. You can standardize the print and the print color. You can standardize. So, for example, you are in the business of any product. Let's when we talk of laminates, let's take the example of chips. So lace can be in any color, but if there are some packets which have got a silver finish, or some packets which have got a golden finish, then it needs a special treatment or a special way of producing the laminate. So they are all using all 6 color or 7 color printing. So only the print color changes on the top layer. Everything else is the same, standardized. The width is the same. The print matter changes, but then the type of printing on a regular printing is same. So that cuts a lot of inventory for the manufacturer and also for the user. Then you could use same structure of laminate for multiple products. So now you have a product which needs a met and there are some other products which need only uh, pet poly. Don't need a met. But if you use a met there, there's not going to be a harm. So if the requirement is small, you could continue to use met even when it is not metallization is not required. So in case of pet poly, you could use a met poly. So then you have a standard structure across all your products. So maybe you can merge couple of uh, category of flavors or brands together and standardize the laminate structure. And that you can do also for different SKUs. So your 50-gram structure need not be different from your 1 kg material structure. So you can have a similar structure. It may become slightly over designed for a smaller size, but then if it gives a huge saving, why not do it? So that is something you should consider when you are doing your design. Then stand-up pouches, if you see, stand-up pouches machine, they have a typical filling machine. There is a spout in the corner in some cases or a spout in the center in some cases. So whether you will always be in a center spout or side spout is something you have to consider at the design stage. And then across all your SKUs, you have to use that common type of design. So it's not a good idea to have some packs which are a center spout, some packs which are corner spout, some packs which are wider, some packs which are narrower, some packs which are taller, and some packs which are shorter. So if you can standardize all this into similar shape, and maybe you can at max, alter your sizes with only the height as one dimension, keeping width consistent or common. Those will be good ideas of standardization. And then if you come to spout shape and design, there are various spouts available in the market. Again, you will have sourcing problem because you have to source the spout type, give it to your laminate manufacturer to fix it onto the pouch, and then the pouches will come. So there's a long lead time across. So if you standardize it that all my pouches will have the same type of spout, then you will save on the supply chain time as well as cost. And if the sizes are pretty much same, at least on one dimension, the width is the same, or the mouth opening is the same, then you will also save on machinery change parts. So this is also important from an operation point of view. These typically are not considered by when you start your career in any industry. There is a big desire to do something different, कुछ अलग करना है, कुछ हटके करना है. उस चक्कर में we normally forget these standardization advantages that you get from a standardization and simplification. So you should keep in mind and not get carried away by your need to do something very different and very innovative. So you should keep this in mind, and that is why this is a very important presentation at this level of. Most people who are working in the industry over experience may have learned that, but for people like you who are going to start in the industry, It's very important to keep this dimension of innovation in mind. Some more examples of what I just explained in the last slide are on the laminates, what all standardization you can do. So tubes typically are available only in certain diameter sizes. The length can vary. Same way, lace pouches, whatever the print matter, more or less the sizes are similar. The paperboard all have the similar spout. Paperboard can go one step further and have this common color of their spout also, but they have not done that. They've tried to keep it different, so their desire. So, so that is what it is. And then on the right hand side, you see some zipper pouch and spouted pouch as well. I have discussed this in earlier as well. It is very important for secondary packaging, and especially people who will now invest their time in a pharma industry. It is very important to see that the number of shippers that you make and types of shippers that you make for your company are standardized. So you may have thousands of products, but you cannot have thousands of shipper sizes in your portfolio. So and now you have inkjet printing and digital printing available as an option. So you can have unprinted boxes in your warehouse, and online you can print it with the kind of the drug the drug that you are going to pack or the medicine that you are going to pack in there. So the least number of boxes that you can create. There may be some cases where the boxes may come out loose, but that you can address by putting in a gap plate or some kind of a cushioning inside and reduce that gap. But not having a different shipper size, because that will stress your supply chain. Paper also I have discussed that you can have fewer types of paper in your entire which will service your entire portfolio. There may obviously be one or two cases which needs a specific or a special attention. So there one or two cases can be an exception. But in general and broad outline, you should try and limit this to as few sizes, as few paper types, or as few decal width as possible. In case of rigid polymers, rigid plastics, the type of polymer that you use can be standardized. So there are few polymers which can be alternatively used. So in some cases, you can use HDPE or PP or some other material interchangeably. It may not affect the properties or the shelf life properties of your product. Over there, you should give it a thought. So what is my major consumption? If my major consumption happens to be in polypropylene, I should have more and more of my products made in polypropylene. If I have my major consumption in mostly in HDPE, then I should have more and more designs which are around high density polyethylene. So that way you can standardize your polymer type, and if your bulk consumption meets a certain volume, you can have price advantage with the manufacturer. Then you can standardize the container size, shape, closure, in its accessories. So accessories are basically caps, pumps, plugs, these kind of things. So more or less, these are best to be standardized because for different sizes, you can't keep making molds and keep molding material and keeping them in the inventory. It will be too much of a cost. So it's best to standardize. Container size also, like we just discussed on the cough syrup bottle. So cough syrup bottles are 2-3 sizes that are available in the market. They're almost all going to be round cylindrical shape. I wonder if any of you would have seen a squarish footprint of a cough syrup bottle. Every cough syrup bottle is cylindrical in shape. So that is a standardization. Every cough syrup bottle has a screw cap with a breakaway ring, which is a standardization. Some people change the color, some people try and keep the same color with a pad printing or screen printing on top for the brand name. Then label size is another area where you can standardize. While the print matter will definitely change, but keeping a stock of the label. So label stock comes in its label size pre-cut. So if you have a fixed size always, then you just have to take your label stock printed and supplied to you. It will be much faster for your supply chain. Then color of the closure. So sometime recently, I think Pepsi did what for all its brands. So Pepsi, I think, has Fanta and Mirin, 2-3 brands, different flavors they have, and all of them used to have blue cap. because their lead product was the cola, and the cola was blue cap, so all of them were having blue cap. So that is how they were standardizing on the color. And for the consumer, it was not too much of a difference. I think many people didn't even notice the change. Then for common closures for different types of sizes of SKU. This is typically in the mineral water bottle that you see. So there are 3 4 different sizes in the market. They all have the same cap. Even in the beverage industry like Coca-Cola and Pepsi, so they have a 3 liter and a 2 liter and a 1 liter and half liter. The caps are the same on all the sizes. So that is how they standardize. Then you can standardize on your master batch. So if you need to have a color to your cap, uh, so you can have a common color across most of your caps, so that you can buy master batch in bulk and again get price advantage and supply advantage. So these are some photographic representations of what I just explained. Pharmaceutical, again we have discussed the cough syrup bottle, then the cartons that go with it, the blisters, the size of the blister, the shape of the tablet changes, but blister molds are nearly the same. So they may have again 20 or 30 types of blister molds in which all the tablets will fit. किसी में थोड़ा लूज होएगा, किसी में थोड़ा सा टाइट भी हो सकता है, बट ओवरऑल उनका इन्वेंट्री उतना ही रहता है. तो क्योंकि ब्लिस्टर तो ऑनलाइन मैन्युफैक्चर होता है, इट्स फॉर्म फिल सील टाइप, so it is formed on the line. So whenever you change the size, you will have to change the die, the forming die. The forming die changeover will take time and it will reduce your productivity. उतनी देर तक का प्रोडक्शन रुक जाएगा. So that is the logic behind it. Then another area of where big standardization takes place is in the pallets for export, because the containers are very standardized. A 20-foot container or 40-foot container is standardized. Its length, width, height is standardized, and whatever you put inside, you can put anything inside, and you are charged for one pallet, for one container, and as much of material you can stock in that container, the cost remains same. So if you can load this container to 10 tons, then good. For all your 10 tons, you pay the same price. But if you can load only 2 tons, then for 2 tons also you will pay the same price. So how you standardize and maximize the use of the container is the art where you will be required to put it. The pallets also are very much standardized. So you may have heard of Euro pallets. There are 3 4 sizes of Euro pallets. So the pallet size is more or less 1000 by 1000 or 1200 by 1000. These are all fixed, and you have to use that so as to maximize the space inside the container. So we have discussed broadly a lot of ideas on the standardization and simplification. Let us see what the benefits they will give. So this is basically, we started with why, and now let us see, after understanding the whole concept, if you agree that these are the benefits. So the foremost thing is that it reduces the inventory. You don't have to stock different types of material in your warehouse, which you will require maybe after a month, after 2 months, after 3 months. So it is not money blocked in your inventory. Then because it will reduce your inventory, it will reduce the cost of carrying the inventory. Carrying an inventory is a big cost, and typically a working capital is blocked there. And there are big companies who may have billions of dollars in their assets, but if they run out of working capital, the company goes bankrupt. So they may have billions of dollars, but they need 1 billion to pay a salary, and if they don't have that money in their working capital, the company can go bankrupt. So working capital is very critical to an industry. So therefore, when we reduce inventory, we actually take a lot of money out of that inventory and allow it to be available for working capital, for sales cost, for marketing cost, and other important areas of cost. Then it gives you a efficient utilization of storage space. So in many cities across the world, storage space is very costly. So therefore, you have this vertical layered storage spaces now coming up. Racking systems are coming up, and yet the space and handling is so costly that you need to efficiently use that. Now, in such a big space, it may also be that you have a material which is lying in some distant corner of your warehouse, and you don't know. where it is. और जब time पड़ा तो you're not able to search for it and you order fresh material. So that is not an efficient utilization of your storage space. So what reduction in inventory will allow you to have a better utilization and more efficient utilization of your storage space. Then it makes your supply chain very efficient because they can deliver material much faster than the others. We have understood that in the previous examples. It will allow you to reduce wastage. Now, what happens is many a times you have, now, for example, let me take my example of Nicel cap. So Nicel is a blue color cap which is lying in inventory. Maybe I have 5 lakh caps lying in the inventory right now. Tomorrow, my marketing team decides that blue color is not very good. Now they want to change to a green color cap. So suddenly they will change to a green color cap, and my 5 lakh cap, blue caps lying in the inventory will go waste. So that is a wastage that I can eliminate if I don't keep so much big inventory. Then saving on machine change over time, as I said, every time you have a different size or make of material coming on the line, the operators will have to fix the machine, change the conveyor lines, change the filler, change the auger. So many changes they do, which takes anywhere from 2 hours to 12 hours time, depending on the type of machine. And even then, when the machine is fully set, the first few pieces that come out of the machine are not perfect. So it takes another hour or so to start giving you the right kind of product, the right seal quality or right fill quality or weight variation in the pack. So that all that can be avoided. Those waste can be eliminated, and it will maximize the pallet, truck, container loading, cartage portage, the loading and loading cost that the company has to bear. All that can be reduced. So where do you apply all this concept? So you apply all this at the packaging design stage itself. At the packaging design stage, you can check with your other products that you have in your portfolio of where you can create a commonality, where you can use something that is used in pack, some other pack type or some other brand. Same can be used here as a design. So at the design stage, you can apply this. At the component stage, you can apply this. So if you are having a pump and 3 different SKUs, you can standardize your pump. Then you can have packaging styles which can be standardized. So if you are majorly into a rigid packaging, then you can be more and more into rigid packaging. If you are a company which is majorly into flexibles, then you can be more and more into flexibles and maximize that area of supply chain. So the styles also matter. So even in the style, if you have pillow pouches versus 3-side sealed pouches versus 4-side sealed pouches. So if you have a standard across all your products are a pillow pouch, then everything is pillow pouch. Or all your pouches are a bottom standing pouches, bottom gusseted standing pouches. Then you are standardized that. So that is how you can have packing styles which are standardized. Processes can be standardized. So that is linked to the packaging style. So if you have rigid packaging, all your processes will be more or less on rigid packing lines, the filler and capper and all that. If you have more flexibles, then you will be more into FFS or horizontal or vertical form fill seal machines. Then your systems can be the way your incoming material comes, gets inspected, the specifications that are followed. Specifications also can be simplified. So if you have lays may have 20 different varieties, but I think the specification will be a common specification because all the base material is the same, only the print matter is changing. So this number of specifications will come down. So the chances of error at the factory level will come down. And then from process, you can have system standardization and also vendors, as I explained to you, can be standardized depending on what kind of materials they are specializing in selling and handling. So that was the, in short, giving you a glimpse of what standardization optimization is. Innovation has not been touched because it's a big area and needs a presentation by itself. But I think when you do all this standardization and optimization intelligently, many times you will come up with innovations. So
Okay, sir. Good evening. I'm Shobhit from IIT Kolkata. Uh,
Yeah, sure.
I've been given I've been given the responsibility to conduct the Q&A session today. So first of all,
Okay.
on behalf of entire IIT PGDP 34th batch, thank you very much for such an informative session, and I think it will be very much helpful for us in the future product development stages in the ongoing wave of sustainability and innovation in the packaging. Without taking much of your time, actually, I should move on to the questions. Now, there are many questions asked by my fellow mates, but the thing is, I will only ask 5 or 6 important questions. And with your permission, rest of the questions will be mailed to you so that you can answer them and we can circulate among us. Okay?
Good. Sounds good.
Okay. Okay. So the first question for you is, what are the steps to be considered to standardize the packaging portfolio for food service industries?
Okay. So for food service industry, uh, you will have to standardize based on what the other manufacturers or competitors are delivering. Because for a food service like a McDonald's, their own housekeeping or their own storage is according to a certain set of frameworks based on the other suppliers' sizes and shape of the pouches they are supplying. So we'll have to follow the guidelines or instructions that comes from the food service um, buyer. Because if you are supplying, for example, a ketchup pouch, so 1 kg pouch may be a standard for some, 2.5 kg pouch may be a standard for some, because they will have a dispensing machine or they have a way of unloading the pouch into that pouch dispenser machine. So you'll have to follow the guidelines primarily when it comes to food service.
Thank you, sir. So the next question is, does standardization affect product creativity and its ability to stand out on the shelf due to repetitive elements? How can we balance this factor?
This is a very good question, and there's always a challenge that if you use too much of standardization, then every product on the shelf will start looking the same, and your differentiation will come. It will come at the cost of your differentiation. But there are so many advantages to standardization that you cannot just ignore that. You have to find a way of differentiating. You may have to do the way you print the pack, the way you design your creatively, you design your artwork, the print matter, your dispensing system at the shelf. So all those can help you in the differentiation. Uh, Going for an altogether different shape for a tube and all that, people have tried that in the past. If you do an internet search for a test for a toothpaste, you may find a lot of formats, but none of the formats have really become successful or have lasted a long time. Is the tube with the cap is which is the simplest, and it has continued over a period of time. So you have to consider that also. At the cost of innovation, you might even lose customers who are used to using the product in a particular way. So if, for example, an aerosol spray is used in a particular way, if you change the whole shape and design of aerosol spray, it might even confuse your consumers. So yes, there is a challenge of innovation in that, but that can be tackled through how you do your artwork, how you place your colors, how you do your print.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So the next question is, different products will have different characteristics, such as in biscuits, some may have high fat content and some may not. So there will be different structures accordingly. So how can we go for standardization in such circumstances?
So if you have consumption of high barrier property film is higher, then where you require lower barrier also you can use a high barrier film. It will come at a slightly higher cost, but the savings that you will get in your standardization will set that off.
Okay. Next is, it is very interesting. That is, in the post-COVID era, in e-commerce, customization of pack becoming a new fashion because of the less waste generation perspective and like that. So, how one can bring standardization here?
In fact, e-commerce needs far more standardization than uh, what you see on the modern modern stores, because they have to then plan for shipment containers and all. So if there are products which are very different in shapes and sizes, then they have a problem of designing or getting into that secondary packaging in which they ship the material to the consumer. So they demand a lot more standardization than even in the modern trade or a traditional trade business.
So, sir, actually, we find that some of the packages we have received is sometimes oversized. So, will there be a trend we will see post-COVID era that the packaging standardizations will be more modified to reduce the waste generation or like that in this post-COVID era situation, or the same standardization process will be followed by the e-commerce?
Yeah. So e-commerce and even in the pharma that I explained, so out of thousands of brands that they will make or thousands of products that they will make, they have only 30-40 sizes of shippers that they utilize. And sometimes the shipper may be slightly empty. So they fill up with a gap filler or some space filler device, pouch.
Okay. Next is different liquid products may have different flowability. Then how the spout diameters can be standardized?
So you have to take it case by case. So I said there may be some extreme cases where you cannot address and you will need that unique pack. But where you can, you should try and focus on seeing where my nearest pump available to me or dispenser available to me. And maybe you can even challenge your product team to have the flowability which is matching to my to the standard packaging that I have. And if you put on table the advantages that if we do this, we save so much money or this will be the gain, then even your product development team will agree to do some changes in the product.
Right, sir. And last question today, sir, for this webinar thing, that if standardization is done for like chips pouch in terms of thickness of laminate, then smaller SKUs will have over-engineered structure. So how will this affect the cost?
Yeah. So yes, definitely. I told in my presentation also, okay, sometimes it will end up being over engineering, but it will save your cost because if you are selling that 10 or 15 gram pack is your biggest selling pack, so you have the hugest or biggest inventory that coming into a factory is that size. So if for a smaller size the volume is lower, maybe 20% of the volume of the big size. So even if there is over engineering, there is a higher cost. The savings that you will get through your supply chain, timely delivery, saving on shelf space, your vendors saving accumulated, all that put together, that might nullify part of the additional cost. And the whole system will be much more simpler for you to handle. So your vendor cannot make a mistake and print on this material where it was required to be printed on another material and there is an error. So those kind of things will get avoided. But yeah, there will be some over engineering cases.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for all the detailed answers. So, as we all know that alumni are the backbone of any institution or fraternity, and you are one of them who is in the packaging field for nearly almost 3 decades. So, with your permission, I would like to know 2-3 things which may be beneficial for all of us in the coming days. So, one is after 1 or 1.5 months, we will be completing our internships and appear for the campus placement interviews. Though due to COVID-19 outbreak, we are quite uncertain about our future. So as per your point of view, what will be the impact on the numbers of companies visiting this time at IIP, and what will be their response in this aspect?
Okay. So this is purely my personal estimation of how I see the
Yes,
situation.
definitely.
So it will be a very bad campus year, the worst that we have had in all these years. So you should be prepared for that. The economy will also be at a 0% growth rate for maybe in the next 7-8 months. But we have always seen that whenever there is a big crisis, whether it was a Lehman Brothers crisis or the '98 crisis or various crises that we have had in the past, Harshad Mehta crisis in my time, what happens is when the recovery comes, the recovery is generally much higher than the current rate. So if you saw that the stock market was about 3,900 or at 40 when the COVID problem started, and they went down to even 28, and down they've recovered to 30 or so. This recovery, yeah, I was saying that economy will eventually recover to its to much higher levels by February, March. That is how we have seen it in the past, and it should not be any different this year. But then in the meantime, we should have some patience, and anybody who gets an offer should not be very choosy about where he wants to be or what industry he wants to be. He should just take it up right now, and maybe when the economy is much better or things are improved, you will have opportunity to change or go into your selected stream. So yeah, it will be a tough time. It will be not only for people who are passing out from the institute, even people like us who are on the job. We don't know if our company ends up in big losses. We may have to cut manpower also. So these are going to be tough time for overall the whole nation, I think, except a few sectors. So you don't think that it is only going to affect you; it is going to affect everybody. But everything should be okay in the coming time. So have some patience and
Right,
be
sir.
with it.
Sir,
Stand strong.
okay, thank you, sir. And in continuation with that, what specific skills we need to have to in technical and commercial aspects to prepare and upgrade ourselves properly as per the industry requirements, like any learning courses or specific areas in our basic packaging learnings, whatever we have learned till now. What do you suggest? Um,
Yeah, so let us have a
I
map. So he's adjusting. Yeah.
yeah.
so, did you get a question?
So I did not get this question fully, but what I
Yes.
understood, yeah, I'll just
Okay,
repeat.
sir. Actually,
So what I understood is that you want to know what additional skills.
yes, 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 sir. Definitely.
Yeah. Shall I
Yes,
continue?
yes, yes.
Yeah. So I understood is that you wanted to know what additional skills or trends that you need to have so that you can be successful in the coming times in the industry,
Right.
apart from your packaging education. So that was your question. This answer may take a little longer, so have patience. So what I wanted to tell all of you is that none of you will actually get into your jobs because of your packaging knowledge. At the level of IIP, once you have completed your exam and completed your curriculum, it is expected that more or less you are all at the same level. Now, what will matter for everybody, or what will make the choices? If I go to a campus and make a choice, my choice will be how I can get a person who is a better fit to my organization. So, how the person will fit best to my current system, current business. So, it will be much less on what you know, because at my level, I know that I can pick up anybody and train him to be the best with the kind of work environment that I will give or kind of mentoring that I will provide. So I am not depending too much on your knowledge. But what I do look forward from your side is a very good communication skill, some level of confidence in what you say, your personality, how you carry yourself, uh, how you get along with people, how you can, you know, uh, work as a team, how you can do your presentations better, how you can speak on a subject, even if you know a little bit on the subject, how you can speak it in a very precise and concise manner without, beating around the bush and, trying to make up what you don't know. Uh, Even having guts to say I don't know and I'm willing to learn is a big trait, so that people should not avoid just say that I know it, I will try to answer it in type. So those are the things that are going to be more important for you, more than your knowledge, because knowledge is an never-ending process. So what you have just started is just the beginning. So maybe it is at 0.1% today, and in the next 25 years you will reach about 50%. I am still learning, and I have a lot to learn in my next 10, 15 years of my career left. So nobody is perfect. You can pick up the best, and he is still learning, and he is still growing. So you cannot say that I know so much, so therefore I am the best. It is the other skills that you will have to really work on. The other ones that I told you about: confidence, your way of speaking, how you carry yourself, how you dress, how you make presentations, your command on the language. your ability to communicate, even if your English is not so precise. Can you switch to a Hindi and a mix of Hindi English and still communicate what you want to communicate? So those are the traits that we are looking at.
Okay. That was very insightful, sir. Thank you. And perhaps the last thing I should ask you, that currently IIP Alumni Association has taken a great initiative to support us, as it has been since its inception, for all the students of IIP. So in light of that, what should be our approach in future or coming days to support our juniors as well as the IIP alumni fraternity, being an alumni? If you can suggest something on that.
So right now, you should focus on your career first,
Of
and
course.
only once you are settled in your career and you are okay, then you should take some and see what you can do for the association. Your association even now is not a very structured organization where you can say you can ask the organization, where can I help? It is for you to come forward and say, this is where I can help. This is something I can teach to my juniors. This is what I can organize. If a packfest is coming for IIP, volunteers can come forward and say, we will hold it, we will make it a great success. So it is entirely up to you how much you want to give, how much time you can devote. And I think there is no compulsion, but it is a way of giving back to what the institute has given to you, and being part of the strong alumni network. Because if your alumni network becomes very strong, in return you also become very strong. People don't take you lightly, and you have access to all the information. You can reach out to anybody for any help. This gives you much better leverage or strength when you start your career, or even during mid of your career.
Thank you very much, sir, for your patience and sparing your valuable time for us. Over to Ayush, sir.
Yeah, so Fadil, I think it has been a sort of very comprehensive session where you have touched not only on the technical aspects of the packaging but also on the business skills. And as you rightly mentioned that you were along with Saukar sir, it was like your brainchild when you started to focus on the other skills required from the students. So definitely around 110 students today who attended this webinars, they will definitely communicate the words to the other people. They are somewhere around 118 number, and definitely work upon their skills. At the last, on behalf of again IIP Alumni Association, Swati ma'am, Hari sir, Jay sir, Ajay, myself, and all students of fraternity, I would like to thank you. You have taken out your precious time, and even you have just unfrustrated yourself for 7:10 from this Ramadan. So wish you a very happy Ramadan days, and let us stay connected. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Yash. Thank you, everyone.